Shalom, shalom. I would like to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. Peace, blessing, and safety to all you Akim out there pushing this truth throughout the four corners of the earth and to the hopeful elect out there. Isaiah 9 and 16. For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. So, a lot of brothers out here, they're making videos about these false leaders in Israel, talking about, how all the nations are gonna be saved, or all the nations are gonna be saved. There's salvation for all these heathens, that these heathens are gonna make it onto the chariots. Just so much confusion, you know, that's being put out there. And the scriptures talks about, false prophets. And it's like every few months, you know, you know, these groups, will come out and just and just talk about some madness, you know. And it just shows that the spirit of Yahweh Shimei Shai isn't working with these other camps. You know, Great Millstone is the only camp that has 100% truth, and the truth doesn't change. It's all based off of the word of Yahweh Shimei Shai, and it's been taught, through our apostles and elders, and bishops, and onward down. You know, the doctrine doesn't change. These other groups out here, all they're doing is changing up their doctrine every few months, switching it up, making it, world friendly, trying to, graft everyone in, and this truth, the book, the laws, the statutes, and the commandments, it's not for everybody. But this video is just, just getting on, these false leaders and these false teachers out there in Israel, and the Lord is going to judge y'all. If y'all don't fix up, the Lord is going to judge y'all. This is Jeremiah 5 and 26. For among my people are found wicked men. They lay wait, and that setteth snares. They set a trap. They catch men. And that's exactly what they do. They set traps. All this is doing is leading, people down the wrong road, or giving people false hope. Talking about all nations can be saved. All nations can make it onto the chariots. Like, are you mad? And it just shows, these camps out here, they're not occupied in the prophecies of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. The word talks about how the prophets are going to be occupied in prophecies, seeing what's, going on, in the time that we're living in. But all these men like to do is just bring confusion, and it's because, they're spies, they're they're paid off, so we believe, you know. Verse 27, as a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit. Therefore, they are become great and waxen rich. They are waxing fat, they shine, yea, they overpass the deeds of the wicked. They judge not the cause and the cause of the fatherless, yet they prosper, and the right of the needy do they not judge. So they're waxing, they're waxing in their riches. They're getting paid off. They're teaching, false doctrines. They love it here. They love it here living under Esau. A lot of these leaders out here in Israel, they don't want the kingdom to come. They want to continue living under Esau. because you know they've whacked. They're living good. You know, they're living lavish. You know, they got it all. You know, only the true prophets of Yahweh Shimei Shai, you know, want to get out of here. We want to get on those chariots. We don't want to see this place go on for another 5, 10 years. You know, we want destruction to come. We want deliverance, salvation through Yahweh Shai. You know, that's what we look towards. But these false leaders out here, you know, they just always coming with some different shit. It's like they get bored with something, and then they come in with something else. Now talking about all the nations can be saved. Jeremiah 14:13. Then said I, Lord, power. Behold, the prophets say unto them, Ye shall not see the sword, neither shall ye have famine, but I will give you an assured peace in this place. Then the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai said unto me, The prophets prophesy lies in my name. You know, in this, you know, you have what's that group? Those ex-Sakari guys. I think Genesis, you know. You hear them, you know, call on the name Yahweh Shai. But then, you know, they're talking about how all nations can be saved. You know, that's going off. So, you know, they prophesy lies in the name of Yahweh Shai. I sent them not, neither have I commanded them, neither spake unto them. They prophesy unto you a false vision and divination and a thing of naught and the deceit of their heart. Exactly what they're doing. They're trying to come up with their own thing, their own vision. I get this word divination. Divination, witchcraft. Let me play that.
Strong's H 7081. Kesem.
You know, and that's going into divination, witchcraft of nations, Ba'am, of false prophets, in a good sense. King's lip as orcless. So you know that's witchcraft, man. That's the main one right there. That's witchcraft. Man decided talking. These guys don't fear Yahweh Shemel Shai. Honestly, they don't. They just have it so nice that they don't fear Yahweh Shemel Shai. Verse 15, Therefore thus says the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai concerning the prophets that prophesy in my name, I sent them not. Yet they say, Sword and famine shall not be in this land, but sword and famine shall those prophets be consumed. You know, the Lord's gonna get y'all. The Lord is gonna get y'all. You know, just these men are just waxing worse and worse. You know, this is Ezekiel chapter 13 in the GNT. And look, it says prophecy against false male prophets. The Lord, Yahweh, verse 13, chapter 13, verse 1. The Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, spake to me, mortal men, he said, denounce the prophets of Israel who make up their own prophecies. You know, they make up their own doctrines. Fucking have some like bullet, you know, a PowerPoint as to why all nations can make it. Listen, no, slack it. Tell them to listen to the word of the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai. This is what the sovereign Lord Yahweh Shem Shai says. These foolish prophets are doomed. They provide their own inspiration and invent their own visions. Yes, thinking that all nations can make it onto the chariots. These heathens, these same nations that had a hand and in Israel being put into captivity? Think you're gonna make it onto those glorious chariots? You think Yahushua is gonna let that slide? This is what the sovereign Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua says. These foolish prophets are doomed. They provide their own inspiration and invent their own visions. People of Israel, your prophets are as useless as the foxes living among the ruins of the city. They don't guard the places where the walls have crumbled, nor do they rebuild the walls. And so Israel cannot be defended when the war comes on the day of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua. These visions are false and their predictions are lies. They claim they are speaking my message, but I have not sent them, yet they expect their words to come true. I tell them, those visions you see are false and the predictions you make are lies. You say that they are my words, but I haven't spoken to you. You know, the Lord's going to judge. The Lord's going to judge these false prophets. Verse 8, so the sovereign Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, says to them, your words are false, your visions are lies. I am against you. I am about to punish you, prophets, who have false visions and make misleading predictions. You will not be there when my people gather to make decisions. Your names will not be included in the list of the citizens of Israel. You will never return to your land. Then you will know that I am the sovereign Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua. The Lord's not playing, man. The Lord's not playing with you false prophets. He's going to judge y'all. So 2 Timothy 3 and 13, but evil men and seducers shall wax worse. And that's what I'm saying. Every few months, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Just more madness, more shit that don't make any sense. Just straight, left field. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. The Rakakwadash is leaving these men. They don't got it. They don't got it. Like I said, they need to fix up. They're clicking in with all these other camps. No, these people don't want to rebuke all these other camps, tell them that they're going off. So GMS, starting with our apostles and elders, all they do is push that 100% truth. This is 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 1 in the NIV. False teachers and their destruction. So there's there's blood on your hand, for leading people astray. You're gonna get judged. But there were also false prophets among the people, just as there will be false teachers among you. They will secretly introduce destructive heresies, even denying the sovereign Lord who brought them, bringing swift destruction on themselves. Destruction, nothing but judgment. And you see, man, and you see what happened to Gorilla Hebrew. See how he got exposed. These men, they're gonna be exposed. They're gonna be exposed. Everything's gonna come to light. Matthew 15 and 14, let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into a ditch. So just, we're gonna rebuke, reprove, exhort. We're gonna tell the truth. We're gonna push the word of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and whoever doesn't understand it, that's their problem. These people, if there, certain Israelites out there want to listen to this madness, these other heathens want to listen to this madness, let them listen to it, because it's only gonna lead them to destruction at the end of the day. We don't got time to be, debating, about, what the truth is. You know, it's all in the scriptures. This is Acts 20 and 29. For I know this, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock. And that's what these men are. You know, they come into the truth, and they come into the truth to do nothing but, you know, spread lies, you know, bring confusion, bring their own doctrines. You know, soon they're gonna start talking. Soon he's gonna start preaching about hell. Just madness. It's like, what's next? Now they're talking about, you know, all nations could be saved. That there's salvation for all nations. It's only for Israel. Salvation is only for Israel. It's not for all nations. Not all nations can make it onto the chariot. Verse 30. Also of my own selves shall men arise speaking perverse things. And that's exactly what it is. I want to get that word perverse.
Strong's G 1294. Diastrepho. Diastrepho.
What is that going to? A distraught, turn aside, to oppose, plot against the saving purposes and plans of the Most High. So you're going against Yahweh Shem Yahushai, saying that all nations can make it, saying that these other nations can make it onto the chariots. You're going against the word of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. To turn aside from the right path, to pervert and corrupt. And that's all they're doing, is they're making people go left field. They're corrupting the people and corrupting Israel, as if Israel's already not corrupting itself. You have, you know, men out here corrupting it even more. You know, as if the world doesn't, we're under the curses as it is already. And here it is, you have men that know of this truth, you know, that have came up under our apostles, and yet, you know, they go astray, you know, to corrupt, you know, but that's just their lot. You know, the Lord has spoke of these things. You know, this is nothing new. This is not a surprise, but we have a job to do. When you hear about these things, you know, you got to bring it out. You got to expose, you know, these false leaders out here. You know, you got to say what it is. You know, pray that, you know, they get back on the right track. But, you know, as of now, you know, they're just going off. You know, these false leaders out here, they're just a reassuring thing. You know, a reoccurrence. They just keep coming with different shit. You know, when they get bored, and they just keep coming with different shit. So you got to be watch out for them. You got to point them out and expose them. You know, so that's gonna do it for this video. I give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim Rakakwadash, and double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone, and peace, blessing, and safety to all the Akim out there pushing His truth throughout the four corners of the earth. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Until the next one, Shalom.